Imagine this. It's a warm Italian morning, somewhere between spring and summer, that golden hour before the heat arrives. You're sitting in a courtyard, white stone, terracotta pots, and there's a magnolia tree in full bloom just beside you. The petals are almost obscenely beautiful. Creamy, vast, that heady sweetness drifting across the air before you've even noticed it. That is precisely what Acqua di Parma Magnolia Infinita smells like from the very first second it touches your skin. Now here's the thing. This is a fragrance that on paper sounds like 100 others. Magnolia, peony, rose, musk, sandalwood. You've heard that story before, right? Feminine floral, safe, pretty. But stay with me, because what happens on the dry down with this one genuinely surprised me, and it completely changed how I'd wear it. I'll get to that. Don't go anywhere. Acqua di Parma. Founded in 1916 in Parma, Italy. Over a century old, and still one of the most quietly confident luxury houses in fragrance. The key word there is quietly. Acqua di Parma doesn't shout. It doesn't need to. Where some houses pile on complexity and novelty to justify their price tags, Acqua di Parma operates on a different philosophy entirely: clarity, quality, and that specifically Italian sense of understated elegance. La Dolce Vita in a bottle, essentially. The house built its reputation on Colonia, that iconic citrus cologne that became a staple for the stylish European gentleman. But over the decades they've expanded into florals, woods, and more modern interpretations, and their floral range in particular carries a very specific DNA. It's never synthetic, never shrill, never desperate for attention. The florals from Acqua di Parma breathe. They have space around them. Magnolia Infinita sits right at the heart of that tradition. It's their love letter to the magnolia flower, and the name itself, Infinita, is a statement of intent. This is not a brief encounter with a floral note. This is an immersion. Let's talk about the bottle, because with Acqua di Parma, the presentation is never an afterthought. The Magnolia Infinita comes in that immediately recognizable ADP silhouette, clean lines, no fuss, architecturally beautiful in its simplicity. The glass has real weight to it. This 180 milliliters bottle in particular feels genuinely substantial in the hand, not hollow, not performative. It means it. The pale blush tones on the packaging and the delicate magnolia detailing are elegant without being fussy. It's the kind of bottle you leave out on a dressing table, not because you're showing off, but because it's simply too lovely to hide in a drawer. The cap fits with a satisfying solidity. The spray mechanism is smooth, precise, and delivers exactly the right amount with each press. No waste, no spluttering, no drama. This is packaging that matches the fragrance's character perfectly, refined, considered, and more beautiful the longer you look at it. If you're buying this as a gift, the unboxing experience alone justifies a significant portion of that price. It arrives looking like it belongs on a shelf at a Milanese perfumery, which of course it does. The first spray. All right. So the top notes here are pink pepper and citrus, and they announce themselves with real confidence, a bright, slightly spiced opening that gives the fragrance a little edge right from the start. It's not timid. There's a pop, a crispness, an almost effervescent quality in the first 30 seconds that immediately tells you this isn't going to be a flat, linear floral. The pink pepper in particular is beautifully handled. It's warm rather than aggressive, adding a subtle spice that lifts the citrus without overpowering it. The projection in the opening phase is excellent. Within a minute of spraying, this fills the space around you, or not in an oppressive way, but in the way a confident person enters a room. You notice it. Others nearby will notice it. First impressions? It lives up to what the bottle promises. This doesn't feel like a fragrance straining to justify itself. It opens cleanly, with purpose, and immediately hints at something more complex to come. This is where Magnolia Infinita really earns its name. As those initial citrus and pepper notes settle, we're talking around the 15 to 30 minute mark, the magnolia arrives. And I mean arrives. It doesn't creep in quietly. It unfolds like the flower itself opening in the morning sun. Full, creamy, rich, with that slightly velvety quality that real magnolia has. There's a greenness underneath it too, a botanical freshness that stops it from going powdery or heavy. The peony adds a lighter, more delicate dimension alongside it. If the magnolia is the main event, the peony is the supporting actress who steals a few scenes. There's a freshness to it, almost watery, that keeps the heart from becoming too dense. And then there's rose, and this is where it gets interesting. The rose here is restrained. It's not a rose perfume wearing a magnolia disguise. The rose exists to add depth and a very slight fruitiness to the floral accord, not to dominate it. That restraint is expert blending. In the heart phase, the sillage, the trail this leaves, is genuinely impressive. Walk past someone wearing Magnolia Infinita and you'll remember it. It has presence. It has personality. But it never tips into overwhelming territory. That's the Acqua di Parma discipline showing itself. Here's where I told you to stay, and here's why. The dry down on Magnolia Infinita is the most interesting part of this fragrance, and it's also the part that repositions it entirely in my mind. After 3 to 4 hours, the florals begin to retreat, not disappear, but soften, and what rises to meet them is the white musk and sandalwood base. Now, sandalwood in a floral fragrance can go one of two ways. It can feel generic, padding, filler. Or it can feel like the foundation of a building, the thing that gives everything above it meaning and structure. Here, it's the latter. The sandalwood that emerges in the dry down is warm, almost skin-like, with a soft creaminess that melds with the residual magnolia in a way that feels genuinely intimate. This is a fragrance that becomes more personal as it ages on your skin. The white musk reinforces that clean, close, not clinical, but warm and almost tactile. The dry down is quieter than the opening, yes, but it's richer. More complex. And here's the surprising verdict I promised you at the start. By the time Magnolia Infinita has been on your skin for 5 or 6 hours, it has transformed from a confident, bright floral into something that smells almost like a second skin. Something deeply personal rather than performative. That transformation is rare. And it's what separates a genuinely great fragrance from a merely pretty one. Let's be straight about numbers because this matters when you're spending over £200. On skin, you're looking at 6 to 8 hours of real performance. That's good. Not exceptional, but good, and notably better than many florals in this category that tend to evaporate within 4 hours. On clothing, the story is even better. I've had this fragrance noticeable on fabric 12 hours after spraying. If you apply to pulse points plus the inside of your wrists and perhaps the base of your neck, you will have fragrance presence throughout an entire day. Sillage, the trail, is what I describe as moderate to full in the opening phases, transitioning to a closer, more intimate sillage in the dry down. This is not a room filler in the aggressive sense. You won't walk into an empty lift and leave your fragrance behind for the next 3 people. But in conversation distance, it absolutely announces itself. That makes it ideal for daytime and professional settings, present enough to be noticed, refined enough never to be intrusive. Peak performance time? I'd say this fragrance is at its absolute best in the heart phase, that 30-minute to 2-hour window where the magnolia is fully open and the projection is at its confident best. Morning application, for a day that runs from office to early evening, is this fragrance's natural habitat. Right. Let me paint some portraits here because I think this fragrance has been slightly miscategorized in how people think about it. If you're the type who appreciates quality in the quiet details, the person who buys one brilliant thing rather than 5 average things, who notices thread count and good leather and the smell of a properly aged wine, Magnolia Infinita was made for you. You understand what you're paying for here, and you'll wear it with that knowledge. If you're someone who finds most florals too sweet, too synthetic, or too pink in their personality, and you've almost given up on the category, try this. The botanical quality of the magnolia note, the green edges, the sandalwood base, this is a floral for people who normally don't wear florals. It has too much intelligence for the genre it's technically filed under. And if you're buying a genuinely memorable gift for someone who has taste and knows it, this is the answer. The bottle, the heritage, the scent itself, it's a complete statement. Who should not wear this? If you're looking for projection that clears a room, look elsewhere. If you want something bold, maximalist, a fragrance that arrives before you do and stays after you've left, this isn't it. It rewards proximity and intimacy, not distance. It's also not right for those who want constant compliments from strangers. The people who notice Magnolia Infinita are the people who know what they're looking at. It's not for everyone, which is part of its appeal, but it does mean it can fly under the radar. £234 for 180 millilitres. Do the maths, that's £1.30 per milliliter. For context, that's competitive for a luxury Eau de Parfum at this level. Many niche houses charge significantly more per milliliter for comparable quality. And the 180 milliliters size is generous. This isn't a token bottle, this is a proper, long-term relationship with a fragrance. Are you paying for the liquid or the name? Honestly, both, and that's fine. The Acqua di Parma name carries genuine heritage and a century of expertise in Italian luxury fragrance. But the liquid absolutely justifies its portion of the price. The quality of the Magnolia Accord alone is exceptional. It smells real, which is harder to achieve than it sounds. If you want a similar floral territory at a lower price point, look at Lancome's La Vie Estate Belle, which gives you a softer, sweeter floral experience for around £60 to £70. But the sophistication gap is real and noticeable. They're not in the same conversation. My score for Magnolia Infinita is 8.5 out of 10. I'm giving it that rating because the dry down is genuinely beautiful, the quality is undeniable, the bottle is display-worthy, and the longevity is solid. The half point I'm withholding is because the sillage, while refined, might leave some wanting more projection for the investment. But this is a fragrance I'd buy. Full stop. You can pick up the 180 ml Acqua di Parma Magnolia Infinita directly at p-11.com. I'll put the link in the description below. They're a reliable UK stockist, the price is fair, and they carry the full 180 ml size, which is the one worth getting for the value. Magnolia Infinita is exactly what Acqua di Parma promises and rarely disappoints on, a fragrance of genuine elegance, botanical quality, and that quietly confident Italian character that doesn't need to prove itself to anyone. It won't suit everyone, but for the person it suits, it will feel like it was made specifically for them. Here's what I want to know from you. If you own Magnolia Infinita or you've tried it, did that dry down sandalwood and musk transformation win you over completely, or did you find yourself reaching for something more dramatic when you wanted to make a statement? Tell me in the comments. And if honest, no hype fragrance reviews are what you're after, subscribe. I post every single week and I will never tell you something smells better than it does.